I said to Tuputumuzi Mtabela, he's a very well decorated and established, very talented actor in South Africa. And he spoke about how he was watching a documentary where these white Afrikaners were saying they realized as early as the 70s, the 1970s, that we're not going to win against these black liberation movements. And they started devising a plan on, since we are not going to win and we're going to lose, how do we lose the least? How do we ensure that whatever damage comes, but we preserve as much as we can in that loss? And then they started this project on how they're going to start speaking to and co-opting the liberation movements. That's where you'd see the ANC go into being a black organization to a non-racialist organization, which would lead to the leaving of Robert Sobukwe and others. Later on, they'd co-opt the likes of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. They'd find a project in someone like a Cyril Ramaphosa, who would have a close relationship, I believe at the time, with Harry Oppenheimer, and they would groom him like you groom a Siya Kolisi under Rassi Erasmus to ensure that, hey, look, Choma, listen to us, understand what we've built as a nation, as white people, what we're scared of losing, what we think will happen if black people just lose their marbles, the losses on both sides. Listen to us and understand. And then go back and speak to your black people and get them to understand. And in doing that, we will reward you handsomely. We'll make sure that yourself, your family, some of your friends are very comfortable. But go and speak to the blacks. I don't think they understand. And that seemed to be going somewhere. Thabo Mbeki would be another amazing project for them. Of course, he went to study at the London School of Economics, if I'm not mistaken, and he'd come back and he'd have a very comfortable relationship in whiteness. I had a wish, and as early as now, it's still early, by the way, but I failed. I failed, and what happened in the last couple of weeks, I guess was me like catching a hot slap in the face that, hey, Choma, you failed in the little bit that you thought you were doing. I explained that white people in this country don't want to lose their privileges. They want black people to behave, to be good Christians, to be good employees, to stay in their little corner. Now, my consciousness would be kicked in when I get to Rhodes University. It started in matric when I started seeing certain things that upset me and how certain black kids were being treated. I'd get to university, I'd learn, I'd read, I write what I like. I'd learn about Steve Biko. I'd start listening to Lauryn Hill. I'd start listening to Talib Kweli and Mos Def, Common. I'd listen to KRS-One. I'd study black history in depth, learning about Marcus Garvey, learning about the Black Panther Party, learning about the liberation of Africa, your Kwame Nkrumahs, your Thomas Sankaras, etc., etc. And then the history of South Africa, where we come from, in depth. Because, you know, I was just a little good boy in school. I was there to get my good grades, playing good rugby. I wasn't fully immersed in the knowledge of our history and where we come from and understanding the social dynamics. Of course, I'd visit my grandmother in the rural areas, in Makaya, Ezlalin. I was born into a township. My father still lived there. He owned soccer teams there. He bred greyhounds there. I would be in the township and get to see that space. These are now the privileges that I would have that my white peer, colleague, friend would not have. They don't have that. They go to a farm or they just go and visit their grandmother in another suburb. I actually get to see the complex dynamics and the history of this country. I get angry, very angry. I'm like, no, something needs to happen to black people. Of course, there are options available. Join politics, maybe become some type of, and later on I'd start the Buy Black movement, which I'm trying to revive now, to be like, let me help black people be conscious about buying from other black people, and conscious about working for black people and ensuring that their resources and their energy is in black spaces, so that white people are not like, yeah, but black businesses are this, and it's like, oh, no, 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 we've actually got an initiative. Were to draw an analogy, instead of asking white people to include us in their white rugby teams, I'm saying, let's create a black rugby team or a black rugby movement which capacitates black rugby teams wherever they may be to ensure that they become better. Almost like Afrikaners saying, we will invest intentionally in Afrikaner. We're not going to ask the British to include us. Don't, please bring us into your schools. Please, can we get Afrikaner affirmative action? We'd like equity in British-owned businesses. Afrikaners were like, no, we will be intentional about Afrikaner nationalism. And when the National Party got into government, they ensured that money and resources and energy went into building Afrikaans schools that teach in Afrikaans, building Afrikaner universities that teach in Afrikaans, in investing in Afrikaner economies that are run in Afrikaans, and capacitating the talent of Afrikaners in rugby, in business, in farming, in culture, whatever the case may be. You've got your FRK, RTKV, etc. They did really well. I was like, I think this is what black people need, instead of begging white people to be included in their spaces. Where I've failed is, I realize now it was a mistake. I thought that when I was speaking to Rob Hussoff and his friends, I thought that when I was speaking to the leadership of AfriForum, I thought that when I was speaking to the leader of Orania and some of the supporters of Orania, I thought that when I'd engage Gareth Cliff, when I'd engage maybe online or Ronaldo Gous, when I'd meet up with the Roman, when I'd speak to so many different white people, various parts, the Jewish community, the Afrikaner community, the English community in this country, I thought we were listening to each other. My mistake. I thought we were listening to each other because I was listening. I was listening to everything. And not only was I listening, I was empathizing. I was like, trust me, I know how difficult it is to build a business in tough terrain. I know how scary it is to be in a country where you are a minority and you actually don't know if the natives will kill you and your family. Where all the stories you hear are about how a black person raped a white girl, how black people murdered white people on a farm or in their home. Black people were hijacking. You look at black corruption. Like I was listening. I was understanding. I'm like, you know what, Choma, I understand and I'm so sorry. And I thought they were listening, but they weren't. Number one, not all black people are the same. So you cannot take the worst of black people and then create a paintbrush of all blacks, because you're expecting us as black people to not take the worst of white people and paint a brush. But white people want to take the best of white people and then paint a brush. Oh, look at Elon Musk. Bro, you and I are both working at the same fucking company. We were at university together struggling. We were at high school together, both trying to make first team. You are not Elon Musk. I am not Patrice Motsepe. I am not Aliko Damote. Why must I look at the best parts of you, but you want to look at the worst parts of me? But Pen, look at the ANC, bro. What the hell? I'm like, you're not listening. You don't want to listen. You only want to be understood, so that Pen, the black pen, the so-called good black pen, must use his voice and his platforms to get black people to catch a fucking wake up and to scrap BEE and affirmative action and to not speak about the land and to get over apartheid. And I'm like, were you listening to me? Were you listening? Like, I had to go to like a pit toilet, a long drop. We'd have to wait for paraffin for the oil lamps because we didn't have electricity. We didn't have running water. We'd have to fetch water from the rivers. Me, when you tell us, oh, apartheid, me. I've had to go with drums, 25-liter drums and a wheelbarrow with my female cousins to go and fetch water from a nearby stream or river. My grandmother had a bucket toilet where her brother was working for the Zulu government. They would come with this truck to come and pick up these buckets full of feces. And we'd have to take newspapers and the phone directory and try and make this paper softer to wipe our asses with, because we couldn't afford toilet paper. I was trying my best to be the best black kid so I can get good marks and get a bursary to get somewhere. Where your white child was born into, I just have to study really hard. I just have to apply myself at gym so I can make the first team. I just have to play. I don't have to overcome all these things of speaking a language that is not a language I speak with my parents. Being in spaces where white people are like, oh, you're a quota player. You're just here because you're fucking black. Where in primary school, I'd be called a kafir everywhere I go. When I'd get on the rugby field, I'd be called a kafir, and Afrikaans guys would want to break my ribs because I'm black. Because I'm black. They would stamp on me when I'm in the racks and the malls and be like, play still, kafir. And after the game, they refuse to shake my hands because I'm fucking black. You don't know what that means. And I'm like, I'm not saying feel sorry for me, bro. I'm saying let's find a solution. But you're not listening. And it takes Donald Trump, Elon Musk, misinformation by AfriForum and Solidarity, the rampant racism of Tucker Carlson and his platforms, Rob Hersov going to spread more misinformation with the Rubin Report, and the inflaming racism and racist undertones of Garrett Cliff, Ronaldo Ghost, and others on Twitter, where when you say stuff, they go and they are so much more condescending. But come on, Pen, you know, what the fuck? Is it because I'm not from a rich family, a business, and I'm a multimillionaire like Theo Balo? Like, what is it that makes you not see me when all I've been trying to do is see you and hear you so we can have the conversation? I found myself saying maybe we must be segregated. Maybe we can't be together, because the smartest of the black minds, so-called, Abo Penuel, the educated, we're not part of the rotten, corrupt ANC, Figile Mbalula and Gwede Mantashe, imbeciles, idiots. We're not them. We're also looking at them and saying, but these guys are not doing best for black people. They're all about themselves. They're all about enriching their own. They're not building institutions that are progressive. They're the wrong people. I get it. I understand. I'm losing my money. A good, clever black gets spat out by the DA. Herman Mashaba, a self-made black, gets spat out. Like, and when I come and I say, I think Julius is wrong with Dubili Boom. I think Julius is wrong in this regard. I think the EFF is not doing the right thing. I think they're making things worse. I think they're lying to people. I think these guys also are just, I understand, but I'm like, but are you listening? Are you trying to understand where they're coming from? No, they're just wrong. They're saying white people must be murdered. And you're like, you're not listening. And not only are you not listening, you absolutely refuse to listen. You refuse to listen. We're showing that now we're getting militant because you guys are not listening to the nice singing. The singing with the cries, where the women are singing. We're crying for something. Listen to us, white people, white oppressors, settlers, colonizers. Listen. Guerrilla warfare comes. We start increasing the intensity. Maybe if we bomb some shit, maybe if we burn some shit and bomb some shit and maybe put a bullet in one of them, they'll fucking start listening. Because they're not listening. No. Jammer. FW de Klerk, kom ons sit met hierdie mannetjie Mandela. Kom ons praat. Kom ons gesels. Good neighborliness, says Hendrik French verwoed. Apartheid was just good neighborliness. Let's sit and have Codesa and negotiate. Okay. Now you guys want to talk. Okay. All right, Denzel Washington, Malcolm X. Get your hands off of me. My nigga. We sit, negotiated settlement, Sadly, the guys that sat were just activists, and they were not economists, and they were not industrialists, and they were not builders, and they were not governance people. So unfortunately, you know, I mean, hey, Dwana, come from exile, AK-47, Dwana, hey, here's money. And you see their lips, abo Tokyo Sehwale, abo Saki Matozoma, abo Patrice, abo Cyril, hey, Dwana, that's why Cyril always smiling. Hey, I own buffaloes and a farm. You know, now I'm in a private jet and can speak good English. You know, when we look at the stage of the economy and hey, my kids are studying over, hey, umnandi. But that's not what Solomon Mahlangu nor Hector Peterson died for. What Mangaliso Sobuge were in isolation on Robben Island for. That's not what many of our family members and forefathers were killed for and tortured for. And you watch Sarafina, a lot of our women, Winnie Madikizela Mandela would be tortured for, to a point where you'd see the pain on her face as an old woman being like, I went through so much. Our woman would be raped for you to live in Hyde Park and Morningside and Camps Bay and Umhlanga and drive a Rolls Royce and a Maybach and your kids go to Saint whatever so that you can have a fucking private banking card at Investec and sip a double shot espresso at Tasha's in the morning with a salad. I thought Rob Hersoff and others were listening to me. Not to agree with like the black perspective, but to hear it and understand, oh, catching taxis, waking up at 4, not seeing your kids because you get home at 8, having to raise a white man's child but not your own. Your children have lost their father, they've lost their mom. White black men are in jail because the economy is not kind to them, because the ANC is corrupt and it's destroying the economy, and white people are not coming to the party to help them out. And white people are hiring foreigners, illegal foreigners, instead of hiring black South African men. And the black South African men are getting desperate, and in their desperation they lean to drugs. And in their fucked up states of mind, they hijack cars to make money. They break into houses to, you know, and with the mental fucked upness of the drugs and the alcohol, and they engage in reckless sex and get HIV and AIDS, and they maybe get so fucked up that they go and they rape women. They beat up their own women. Just understand. So I made this example a while back of, imagine Usia Kolisi finding rugby, or rugby not finding, and Usia Kolisi not being handpicked by Grey High School in Gqeberha to be like, here's an opportunity, talented young black man, we believe in you, we will invest in you with the legacy money, white money that built Sir Alan Gray, that built this institution, but we want to invest in you. It wasn't your father that built Grey High, it wasn't your grandfather that built Grey High, it wasn't the ANC government, it was white people, but we see value in you. We'll invest in you because we want a better future for you, your family, your community. And Siya Kolisi would go on to be a shining star, and he's not the only one, there are many others. Imagine him without rugby, imagine him without Grey High School, imagine him without investment, imagine Damien Willemse not being found by the Rupert family and being sent to Paul Roos Gymnasium to become something of a spectacular talent. Ashton Willemse would speak about this and would call out Nick Mallet and Nas Botha for being racist at Supersport and be like, you guys don't fucking get it. You guys don't fucking get how hard I fucking work to be here. You're just fucking condescending, and you probably just see me as a quota. And he spoke about how rugby helped him escape the drug world and the gangs. And he went and he educated himself. You guys are not fucking hearing me. They were not listening. They were not listening. They don't want to listen. They refuse to listen. They absolutely fucking refuse to listen. What animal do you think you're creating? How do you think Muammar Gaddafi got to the way he is? How do you think Robert Mugabe, the most educated world leader at the time, how do you think he got to the type of person he became? You think the Chinese are just randomly just idiots who are highly educated with meritocracy doing what they're doing? When you close out the people that are empathetic, sympathetic, understanding, that were raised in your white spaces, that understand whiteness probably better than you do, because they've studied whiteness as an unofficial doctorate, where you were just living it. I've said before that the last, final, loudest language of the colonizer, of the oppressor, of the exploiter is violence. You don't get too loud and too aggressive when you speak to the taxi industry. You don't, because you know what's possible there. You understand what's there. You're like, hey, these guys they're the same fucking animals as us, boy. They can fucking butcher you and chop you up into pieces. Hey, we don't know about these O's. There's a reason why white people don't play around North Korea. They don't talk shit about North Korea. Let's go bring democracy to North Korea. Do you know what will happen? Kim Jong-un will bomb the fuck. Kim Jong-un will bomb the fuck, not out of you, out of your women and children. That's what Kim Jong-un will do, boy. He's not, Kodesa, let's have a chat, please include us. No, he was like, I will end your life. You will stop breathing. Your heart will stop beating. Your children and your wives will no longer exist. Fuck these oaths to death. Because my family and my forefathers were sucking their dicks and understanding and speaking their languages. They've never ever fucking attempted to speak our language. They've never fucking been understanding of our culture. They've just been shitting on us. And you create the worst monster. And when the Twin Towers get bombed and many people are sad and heartbroken, others are like, we understand. Because you guys don't want to fucking listen. You don't want to listen. And all we're saying is, please listen and understand. We're speaking in your language. We're not even speaking in our language. We're into yours. We're coming to your platforms. We're listening to your cries and your problems. We're not trying to destroy what you have. We're not asking for you to be butchered and killed and sent away. We're saying, guys, can we also, please, can ons asseblief saamspeel? Asseblief. Can we get on the same field? Nee, jy kan nie speel nie. You don't know the rules. I know. Can I learn? Please. You don't want to listen. What does that say about the future? What does that say about us? Our forefathers failed. We're failing. Do I hold my breath and hope that my kids will be able to find a way? What if my kids become the monsters because they're like, my dad did everything. He tried and you guys will refuse to listen. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, they tried. You guys didn't listen.
Life of an artist, bad shot by spices, glorifying drugs as a stage fright cure. You can try this just when you're about to grab your chance of staging. Excitement, you can't think out this industry, or should I say this killer dream, cause you will swear that from the start it was designed to kill artists. Bangakulwela when days are bright, ungutembekile. As a human being on Instagram, too much pressure, unrealistic expectations. Whoever said that he's the perfect is with us, wethembekile. Singiza wethembekile. Remedies within us, ezihwemba sibhebhekile.